I just love the way South Africans often behave like their experience of reality is unique, like the issue of the emergence of the Mafia State or the supposed emergence of the Mafia State. It's not something that started in South Africa. Just a quick inquiry from artificial intelligence reveals that the primary root cause for the emergence of the mafia is a power vacuum created by a weak or corrupt state, forcing private citizens to seek informal, illegal governance for protection and justice. What does that mean for us? If you look at the opportunities that have been created by politics for a people to whom economic emancipation was dependent on government and not the private sector, you see that there is very little to go by. There are limited opportunities, and you then are faced with a situation where people who did not have the opportunity to rise through politics by virtue of their historical inclination to participate in politics, or their parents' history of having been politicians or taking part in politics, and hence the legacy of a family that's taking part in politics going to impact on the children by way of creating opportunities. Not many people have that, and having limited opportunities to rise when the private sector, which has so many sectors, is not able to provide opportunities for people to go up the ladder of success. Some will find alternative ways, some will find crooked ways, some will find convenient ways. And the Sicilian mafia, often seen as a prototype, arose from specific historical conditions that provided a blueprint for similar organizations worldwide. Foundational conditions in Sicily. Historians point to Sicily in the 19th century during Italy's unification as the birthplace of the modern mafia. They talk about failed feudalism and state incapacity. The end of feudal system created a massive increase in the number of small landowners. However, the newly unified Italian government lacked the resources and local knowledge to enforce property rights or provide adequate police protection to defend the interests of the landowners. Demand for private security. With rampant crime and banditry, landowners and merchants needed protection for their property and crops. As the state failed to provide this, they turn to private armies, the proto-mafia, made up of former criminals who offered a form of private justice in exchange for payment. Demand for private security. With rampant crime and banditry, landowners and merchants needed protection for their property and crops. As the state failed to provide this, they turned to private armies, the proto-mafia, made up of former criminals who offered a form of private justice in exchange for payment. Growth into a criminal enterprise. These protection arrangements quickly developed into extortion rackets. These protection arrangements quickly developed into extortion rackets. The protectors became the oppressors, using intimidation, violence, and a complex moral code called Ometa, the code of silence, to maintain control and prevent victims from going to the authorities. Places with unreliable policing or an inefficient judiciary, criminal organizations step in. Criminal organizations step in to provide governance, arbitrate disputes, and collect taxes. High returns from illegal enterprises such as drug trafficking, smuggling, or racketeering outweigh the risk when legal opportunities are scarce. Outweigh the risk when legal opportunities are scarce. The American Mafia, for instance, exploded during Prohibition when illegal alcohol created a new and extremely profitable market. Social identity and community relations. In marginalized communities with little trust in formal institutions, criminal groups offer a sense of belonging and power. Many gangs and mafia-like organizations foster internal cohesion through rituals, shared identities, and promise of protection, presenting themselves as a surrogate family. Globalization and migration. The international system itself can create criminal opportunities. When countries have different legal standards, organized crime can exploit these legal systematic flows for their activities like illegal waste disposal or drug trafficking. Migration. The problem with failure is that it doesn't just happen at the level of the mafia. It starts in the home. It starts right where we bring children to the world. When parents fail to take care of children and identify psychological problems and intervene, when parents are having to leave the world for whatever reason, they leave the children vulnerable. And society. Civil society is supposed to be the extension of the home. When civil society is not able to represent the interest of the various families and the various interest groups that are within the society, it becomes a very, very bad starting point for the strengthening of the family institution. Because you cannot expect government to be credible, to be competent, to be interested in your affairs if you're not interested in your affairs. It starts with you, it starts with us, it starts with civil society. It starts with us knowing that we are the extension of the family. And when the best of us is able to come together and get our act together and be able to organize ourselves and structure ourselves and be able to identify the challenges that need to be addressed, we are halfway through solving society's problems. Access to education, access to employment opportunities, access to business opportunities, protection for the vulnerable, protection for women and children. By the time we reach government, you have people who are able to tell government what they want, who are able to demand that government sits with them and address conditions that create opportunities for alternative lifestyles. This is even before you get to the judiciary, which should be dealing with minor issues. If the family and society have been weak, the judiciary has a lot in its hands. The judiciary has a lot to deal with. The judiciary has a lot of problems from society which should have been solved at societal level through education, through job creation, through business opportunities, through sports, through the arts, through engaging people in positive activities that will guide them and channel their activity and channel their energies towards the right direction. By the time things get to the media, that's crisis point. The media is a mirror of what is happening in society. If we have a society that is not functioning properly, that's precisely what the media is going to portray. Don't blame the media. The media is a mirror. It is a mirror of society. What should have been rectified by religious institutions, what should have been rectified by families, what should have been rectified by clubs where we meet to empower each other as males, to empower each other as women, to empower each other as youths, to empower each other as children through recreational facilities. We cannot blame the failures, the systematic failures of the family institution and society, as well as government. You can't blame that on the outcome that takes the form of social ills, that takes the form of drug addiction, that takes the form of alcohol abuse, that takes the form of teenage pregnancy. By the time you get there, you have missed an opportunity to have prevented that from happening at the family level, at societal level. And that's where our focus should be. Systematic failure starts at home. Mafia groups are the end result of the failure that started in some home. The home is the starting point. Failure to fix the home is a prelude for societal failure. Each government official that fails on its role at the Home Affairs or Social Welfare Department or Education Department or Economic Department or the Department of Agriculture, you name them, each government official that fails to perform its work has failed society.